Hey guys, Phoenix here. So, if you didn't know, I am currently working on the production of a series called Fighting Truthful that will have a spin off group of mini movies titled The Land of Lies. Since this story doesn't take place on planet Earth or have earthen lore, I guess that's how you would pronounce it, earthen. I figured it would be best to make a video explaining the basic lore of the world and introduce the characters that aren't plot spoilers as in themselves. And I will explain the lore to the best of my abilities. There may be a few topics I don't touch on, but just ask about those topics after watching the whole video so you don't ask a question I've already answered. Okay, as I explain the lore, some characters will be introduced because they'll be referenced for the lore, but I'm going to start with the elves. In the royal family, there's Queen Wyvern Green, who was married to King Miller Green before he died at the hands of humans. Before he died, they had a child named Olive Green, and she is obviously the princess. The rest of important elven characters are three royal guards: Juniper Snow, Violet Evergreen, and Willow Song. Juniper is the captain of the guards, and Violet is the main strategist. Okay, now that all of the elven characters are introduced, I can get on to the basic information. Every elf is raised to be a guard. That is what they dream of. That is the biggest accomplishment for their entire life. Every elf has the pointy ears, but the sizes vary within each elf. Some of them have a certain size, while the rest of them could be like tiny. Okay, and not all of the elves excel at archery. In fact, some of them are best at sword fighting or just physical combat. To become a guard, though, you have to be able to do all three and still be able to hold a decent stamina. Juniper's personal favorite is physical combat, while Willow prefers archery, and Violet's just rolls with whatever it is. Violet's just Violet. When they're born, though, biological females are actually more strong or stronger / more powerful than biological males. So most of the royal guards are actually biological females. Some of them are. And all elves do feel connected to nature, but the royal family is the only group of elves that can do magic. If you marry into the royal family, then you wouldn't be able to do magic with plants, but your offspring would. That's all the basic information for elves. If you have any further questions, just ask in the comment section and I'll be sure to answer to the best of my ability without spoiling. So the next group I'll talk about is the dragon species. There are 4 remaining dragons, and they are Lunar Soul, Star Falls, Amelia Blaze, and Topaz Flame. Lunar and Star are night dragons, while Amelia is a fire dragon, and Topaz is a water-fire dragon hybrid. We'll start with the category of all dragons in general, because that's probably the most important thing to figure out first. So no matter what type of dragon they are always warmer than other species, like by around 10-20 degrees Fahrenheit or Celsius, whichever one you use. However, if they go into a high emotional state where they're like really sad, really angry, they will become too hot to touch for any creature that isn't a dragon. All dragon types do get along. Some of them are more hostile than others, but most of them do get along with pretty much everyone pretty easily. And I know most dragons have all the wings, horns, tails, everything, but in this universe, all dragons need is at least one of them. They could have just horns. Oh, look, there's a dragon. Just a tail, there's a dragon. Just wings. Oh, there's a dragon. There could be 2, there could be all 3. It just depends, but they only need one. All dragons do have a full form where they appear like an actual dragon, but that's only used when they feel hostile or threatened and ready to attack. And they're usually very peaceful creatures because that way it isn't used as much. And none of the dragons can breathe fire. I know that kind of sounds contradicting to the whole dragon thing, but they don't breathe fire. Fire dragons do when in the full dragon form, but that's the only type that does. And in return, they all love spicy food. Give a dragon spicy food, you're now best friends for life. You're not getting rid of that dragon. Okay, now that I've talked about the dragon species as a whole, let's explore the 3 main subclasses that exist in this story. So, first off, we have the night dragons. These are dragons like Star and Lunar. They are the only type of subclass that doesn't need to sleep. They can sleep as a form of defense, or when they get knocked out, they do sleep, but it's usually not for very long. And their main defense adaptation is that they can blend in with darkness. Like, say there's just a shadow. Poof, they're the shadow now. And with that one adaptation, it makes them the only dragon subclass that has magic of any sort. They're usually the most hostile, but they still aren't very hostile. When they're defending something, they would definitely be pretty hostile. If you run into a night dragon, don't make it mad. That's definitely not a good idea. But most dragons are shades of blue, like the water dragons, but they also have shades of purple and black. Usually they have the darker shades of most colors, and I say usually because we have Star with her light bluish periwinkle hair. And then the next big group is the fire dragons. These dragons are warmer than the usual dragon temperature, but they're still able to be touched by other species. And they happen to be the only subclass that can walk through fire. And like I stated earlier, they are the only subclass that breathes fire in their full dragon form. They are actually the friendliest of the subclasses, and they're usually any shade of warmer colors, which is red, yellow, orange. I guess pink can be thrown in there. But the fire dragons are Amelia, and Topaz is half fire dragon. On the subject of Topaz, the final subclass that is explored in this storyline is the water dragons. They don't have much to them besides the fact that they can breathe underwater. And these dragons are usually shades of green, blue, or just somewhere in the middle. And once again, like with the elves, if you have any specific questions about dragons or in general a specific type/subclass, just ask in the comments and I'll answer to the best of my ability without spoiling. Now, I am going to say that there are smaller species like deer or other forest creatures, but these creatures usually just have one trait that their animal has, and they have a form like the dragons that is that full animal, but that's about it. And with humans, it's basically like humans here on planet Earth, but with some differences from the basic universe as a whole. Okay, that was all the basic creature lore that you'll need to know for this series, but for the world, however, it is very different from Earth. Let's start with the basic units of time and currency. For us, every time 10 seconds passes on Earth, one Dreple passes for them. That's basically their form of a second. So it is pronounced Dreple, and I'll have spelling in the description of all of these. And then when 12 minutes passes for us, one moon passes for them. So it's their form of a minute, a moon. 10 hours would be a Culd. Yes, it is pronounced Culd. So that's their form of an hour, and 10 days would be one Plutz. Yes, Plutz. You heard me right. If any of these words already exist, please don't connect them to what it means, because I did not research these words. I came up with them as I was writing, which I wrote for a few hours. And 12 months, or our version of a year, once that passes for us, that would be one Kluk for them. And lastly, after a decade or 10 years have passed for us, one Sonk would have passed for them. Now, with their calendar, there are 10 Kluks, and each of them have names. The 10 Kluks in order are Zullo, Moulk, Humelk, Kuzle, Jonled, Duplez, Frazed, Blaze, yes, just Blaze, Nyzel, and Yanzey. There are a total of 10 Kluks in each Sonk, and each Kluk has a total of 47 Plutz, making each Sonk have 470 Plutz. Yeah, that's a lot. But with currency, each level is increasing by about 20 US dollars. There are 5 main levels of currency, from lowest to highest, amounts being Scolls, which is worth 20 US dollars, Blooms, 40 US dollars, Hions, 60 US dollars, Conds, 80, it would be 80 US dollars, and Plotons, which would be worth 100 US dollars. The quote-unquote birth of children is also different for this universe. Now, before I explain it, don't go saying That's unjust. That should be illegal because, once again, this is a universe and it is my universe where I created all the lore and information for it. So if you don't like it, don't listen. So all creatures are created through some sort of lab process using DNA from all of the parents. Now, this was chosen because some of the creatures, like dragons, lay eggs naturally in their lore, but I wanted them all to have children the exact same way. So, bam, we get a lab experiment of some sort, but not an experiment. And this also works because then biologically, children, people who just want to be a single parent, don't want to go through all the struggle of getting a lover, can just have a child themselves. Gay and lesbian couples can have children logically, and just because it seemed like a pretty creative way to get through with it. Now, with aging, after the children are born, they age rapidly to 5 sonks in the course of 1 sonk. And then after that, they start to age naturally once a sonk. Physically, they will stop aging at anywhere from 18 to 30 sonks. They can still die of natural deaths, but their hair and body won't physically become weaker, and they won't gray. Next up is the alphabet. They do use the English alphabet and mainly speak in English, but this world was settled by dragons. So there's ancient Dragonic all over the place, carved into buildings, caves, and pretty much anywhere and everything. That's basically it. It's their alphabet. Because let me say to you, people who have developed languages of your own, congrats, I applaud you. I don't want to do it again. It took almost 2 hours to develop this language, and I still kind of don't feel good with it. But there you go. The alphabet. And if you have any questions about that, just ask and I'll explain. All of this is hand drawn, though. I didn't use a website or anything like that. I came up with the little symbols. If these were used anywhere else, my bad. I didn't, like I said, I didn't go through and Google image search all of these or look up all of these words because I felt myself that they personally fit with the world best. So that's the basic lore of the world itself and the species themselves. So I guess I'll go through and explain a little bit about the story and introduce most of the characters. So it follows the story of a world that is currently in war between the humans and just everyone else. 10 sonks ago, the Elven King was murdered by a group of humans, which led to the whole thing erupting and causing a whole war. There is a prophecy that states once someone from both sides knows the truth of how it started, the war will end. It's set to come out sometime in either summer of 2021 or near the end of 2021. I am going to try and fully animate it. It might end up just being a bunch of screenshots, but I have a whole team of people assembled and they will all be linked in the description. Go check out their Instagrams. All amazing people here. But that's that. And on to the next group. The characters and the basic information about them. So first, we have Lunar Soul. She is a panromantic demisexual and is a very friendly yet very blunt person. Lunar is the type of friend that will laugh at you when you get hurt, but when someone else laughs at you, she'll be like, hey, I'm the only one that can laugh at such and such. And she really does mean it in the best way possible. Next is Katie Braun. Katie is the leader of the human army. She's bisexual and a very manipulative and bossy person. However, if you get closer to Katie, she's not as bad as she seems from first sight. Katie has an older sister named Kason Braun. Kason is very caring and a very helpful pansexual who always sees the best in someone, no matter what they've done. She definitely thinks everyone deserves redemption because Kason just really wants everybody to be good when the world really isn't like that. She's just in denial. And after Kason, we have Juniper. Juniper Snow. I've already touched on how Juniper is the captain of the Royal Guards, but she's also an omnisexual who's very protective of her friends. You can count on Juniper to be the one person who always stands up for you in a fight. Then we have our lovely elven princess, Olive Green. Like Lunar, she is a panromantic demisexual, but she is very determined and ambitious instead. Sometimes her ambition gets the best of her, but she always means well. Her mother has definitely been very protective of her since what happened to her father 10 sonks ago, but like Olive, her mother just means well. Then we have Star Falls. Star and Luna have known each other since childhood, and she's a very friendly and optimistic lesbian. Star is the type of person who will make nicknames and bug you as a joke, but she always just means them as a joke. Like if she calls you poopy head, as a 2-year-old would, because I've been called that many times by a sister, she would mean it as a joke. Like, you're just being a little mean right now. Could you calm it down? And she's very protective of her closer friends. Like, all of her close friends, she wouldn't let you hurt them. If they do get hurt, then either she's going to fight you because she is a night dragon, which makes her more hostile, or she's going to go into an emotional state of denial, where that isn't good either because nobody can help her but a different dragon because they wouldn't be able to touch her. Speaking of her close friends, we have Delia's Starfall. Delia is overall a pretty friendly person, but if you rub her the wrong way, don't expect her to go easy on you. Delia is one of the 3 heterosexual or straight characters in the series because I wanted some variety, you know? And one of the other ones is Lee Brown. He is second in command for the human army and the only male character really important to the first storyline. This has a whole biological thing to go with it, but I'm not going to explain it because I've gone into enough depth of everything. Look it up if you want to. And Lee is a very talkative person who always tries to just do his best, even if it doesn't end up the best. After Lee, we have cousins Amelia Blaze and Topaz Flame. Topaz is a very optimistic and cheerful abrosexual. Topaz is the person that no matter how many times you tell her something like, don't do this, she does it anyways, because she's Topaz. She's a very bubbly and very much of an airhead type of character. And then Amelia is a gynosexual who is a very protective person, like especially when it comes to her cousin. Amelia is always the one saying, I told you so, and things like that. Then Violet Evergreen, who is the main strategist of the Elven Royal Guards. Violet is Arrow Ace and a very competitive person who is a child at heart. If something is turned into a game or a competition, you can count on Violet to be there to win it. And our final Royal Guard is Willow Song. Willow is very humble and polite when it comes to things. She is an asexual lesbian, and Willow will be the type of person to apologize to a table for walking into it. And lastly, we have the amazing Queen Wyvern Green. Queen Wyvern is the final heterosexual character and very protective of her kingdom and her daughter. She just wants the best for her people, even though it sometimes doesn't seem like the best in hindsight. There are actually 3 other characters which don't show up until around episode/chapter 5, and their characters as a whole are a pretty big plot spoiler. So, like I stated in the beginning, they will not be fully introduced, but their voice actor social links will be linked in the description still. That is all for this video. I am probably going to look at the timestamp and it'll be almost an hour, maybe more. Yet, this is just the basic lore for this universe. More of it will be explained after Fighting Truthful is finished and Land of Lies begins. Anyways, if you have further questions, ask them in the comments and I'll answer them to the best of my ability without spoilers. And don't forget to check out the instas of the lovely team. And maybe if you seem interested in this story and would like to watch it when it comes out, click the subscribe button and maybe just like the video, because that gives me motivation to continue.